Hello, this is Rick Michaels from Dataworks Development, and you're watching a demonstration of Freezerworks Unlimited 5.1, our very latest version of Freezerworks. The version I'm showing you is the version that has been installed on your Computype laptop. It's a pre-beta version of Freezerworks 5.1. It's a demonstration version. It has a 100 sample record limit. So that's the only restriction. All the features are available to you to demonstrate to potential clients. This demonstration is to help you get familiar with this demo so you can show this demonstration file, how to log in and what to look for. So let's go ahead and get started. Now your version has been installed on your laptop. It'll be in a folder called Freezerworks UL51. So look for this folder and then look for the Freezerworks UL51 exe file right here. Double click this file to enter the program. You may also want to go ahead and, if it hasn't been done for you yet, create a shortcut. So you can just double click on this on your laptop desktop. To do that, we would just create a shortcut, and then the shortcut can be then moved to your desktop. Just drag it to your desktop. But let's go ahead and go into the program. We'll double click here. If you get this message, just hit run. Double click on the 5.1 exe. Now the first screen you'll see is a screen to enter your serial number. Go ahead and hit cancel at this point. This will turn the program into a demo with the 100 record limit. For username, type admin. For password, type admin. Hit OK, and you'll be in. The first thing you'll see is a system configuration and setup guide. This is a workspace that you can use to see how much of the program has been set up, and you can see here that there are modules and freezers and users set up already. When the purchaser gets the program, a lot of this will be empty, but we've gone ahead and groomed the data file so you can give a good demonstration of some of the power and abilities of Freezerworks. Let's go ahead and hit done here. And what I want to show you is the sample entry screen. Let's go to View Inventory, and I'm going to show you the View All screen. It's a good place to start on your demonstration. You'll see here that we have 54 of 54 records displayed. All of our sample records in this database, 54 of them, which means we have roughly, well, we have 46 more sample records that we can create. And I can scroll up and down to see these sample records that have been created. To view a sample record, what I would do is double click on it like so, and I can go into the entry screen like so. And here's a sample record that has been put together. We can take a look at this here, and what you'll see is a number of fields. Now these are all fields that are defined by the user. So these are not fields. They may want these fields, they may not want these fields. It's been designed for a certain user. This screen has been designed to give you an example of the user-defined fields that you can set up in Freezerworks and the power that they have. Let's go ahead and close this, and let's add a new sample. To add a sample, at this screen we can select Add New here, or we can go to Sample Management, Add New Samples here. Let's go ahead and select Add New. And here's that entry screen. And here we can enter a brand new sample. Now Freezerworks gives every new sample a unique number, Freezerworks ID, in the database. This is a hard-coded field that the customer may or may not want to use. As well, we'll have a globally unique sample ID, and this is a unique number that will be unique among all versions of Freezerworks out there. It's an algorithm based on the serial number that the customer enters. So it's a globally unique number. There won't be two numbers exactly the same unless two customers have the same serial number. So we have two hard-coded fields here that can be used for identification. Now on top of that, the customer can create his own unique numbers as well. And here's a couple here that have been created here: participant ID and participant ID 2. Just two examples of how Freezerworks can auto-increment a number. So here we can see that it's an auto-incremented number. If I hit save and go to another screen, it'll be 1005572, 573, and so forth. Here, this example, we can see that there's a prefix. So if the user likes to put, for example, here a 3-character prefix in front of an auto-incrementing number, he can do that as well. And I'll show you how this is done in System Admin user-defined fields later. Now the hospital ID, here's an example. I can hand enter or scan in a hospital ID, for example. Facility has a list of facilities that have been entered as acceptable entries into here. Let's go ahead and select Children's Hospital. And here we have investigator, and what this is an example of is a restricted drop-down based on values selected in the facilities field. So, for example, if I select Children's Hospital, there are 3 doctors here that I can select from. But if I select the Cancer Center, I have 2 investigators, and so forth. South Clinic, here are the investigators that are a part of South Clinic. So what we see here is the ability in Freezerworks to link user-defined fields together so that you can make data entry both easier and improve quality assurance by making sure that you don't put an investigator, in this example here, that doesn't belong to a facility. And this can be done in all sorts of ways in Freezerworks. So let's go ahead and create an investigator. And now we see here a unit code, and this is in a calculated field. And this is put together by taking the first 3 characters of the facility and then the first 3 characters of the investigator's name, and then the participant's ID characters 6 through 9, which is 321 here. So here is an example of how in Freezerworks you can set up a calculated field that will take parts of different fields and create a new field. This is good for creating unique numbers that make sense or have some important information integrated into it, as opposed to simply for example, a ID number that is just a license plate, for example, up here. We also can see this over here. This is a barcode parse, and what I can do here is, let's say I've barcoded a long number here. When I hit enter, what I can have is this number parsed out, so we can see that the site code is the first 4 characters, study ID is the next 4 characters, subject ID are 4 characters after that. And so if the user has a large barcode that has information embedded in it based on this, it can be parsed out by Freezerworks as well. Now up here we have an example of a calculated field where we're going to take a collection date and a storage date and calculate a process date. So, for example, let's say that the collection date is February 14th. This is when we collected the sample. Let's say that we've stored the date on the 22nd. We see that the process date is a calculated field that's based on the storage date minus the collection date 9 days. Let's say that the sample has a keep date of, let's say, keep days of, say, 62 months. So if this is the case, then when I hit enter, I'll have a calculated field here called expiration date, which is the collection date plus 60 days after that. So I can run a report every day of when this sample needs to be deleted, when it has expired. Now over here I have test results, and here I can say a valid range is between 1.8 and 4.5. So if I put 1.7, I get an error. Oops, I made a mistake here. Again, this is done in Freezerworks. Let's go ahead and put 1.8 here. Test result 2, we can see here that we have a calculated field as well. The qualitative result will be based on what we put in here. So we can see here if it's less than 5.9, it's negative. If it's more than if it's 6 or more, it's going to be positive. So if I put in a value of 7.5 and hit tab, the qualitative result is created as positive. If I make it, say, for example, 3.5, then the qualitative result, the calculated field, becomes negative. And down here I have cell bank. I can put, I have two examples here, a master cell or maybe a working cell. I can also color coordinate these so that working, I get a visual clue here. If it's green, it's a working cell. If it's master, it's red. And that kind of warns me that I don't want to delete this aliquot. I want to save this sample because it's a master sample and I want to create more cells with it, that kind of thing. So up here we've got a lot of data for our samples. Let's now go ahead now and add aliquots to this sample. Hit add aliquots here. And up here we can put the number of aliquots. Let's say we're going to put 4 aliquots, and we'll select the freezer. Let's put these in freezer D. And this tells me that I last entered samples at shelf 1, rack 1, box 2, position 20. And here they are highlighted, so this is where my 4 aliquots will go. But I can see here that I may want to move it over here because apparently I've deleted 19 aliquots earlier. So I can go ahead and backfill. Let's go ahead and change it over here. Let's change it to 1. So what I'm going to do is change this to box 2, position 1. And let's update the display. We can see now I can put the 4 aliquots here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's also give these aliquots a type, and what I'm going to do is create 4 plasma aliquots, and plasma is red. I can put a current amount, maybe a 3. Time point is another user-defined field that I may or may not want to enter. Let's go ahead and leave it blank. And let's save these 4 aliquots in freezer D, shelf 1, rack 1, box 2, position 1 here. It's through 4, and my 4 aliquots are now created. If I hit cancel here, I can see here they are, here are my 4 aliquots. Let's add 4 more aliquots to this sample. Let's call these, let's say we've got some serum aliquots. So here I'm going to add, now it's stopped, I stopped at box 2, position 5 before, so we can see here 4 more aliquots. The next 4 positions are here, so I can go ahead and enter here and keep going this way. Or if I wanted, I can move these into another box. Maybe I want to put my serums in a different box. I can do that as well. Let's go ahead and put them here though, and let's call these serum. And let's give a current amount. Let's say that the serum are 2, and save 4 serums in freezer D as well. And let's say that I've got 1 more sample that I want to put in here, and this might be a DNA sample. Or I don't have DNA. Let's go ahead and call this a cells or a Buffy coat. Let's go ahead and do cells here, and just 1 aliquot of cells. Let's make that current amount of 1. And so we can see here, and let me refresh this screen. Okay, so that the colors come in the right way. So we can see here that for this sample, I've stored 4 plasma aliquots, 4 serum aliquots, and 1 cells aliquot. I put them all in freezer D1A. The first 9 positions of my box have been filled. And let's go ahead and save this record. And another thing we can see here is that as I save and do things, the aliquot trail is working in the background, tracking everything I do and giving me a time and date stamp for samples and for aliquots. And that's very important for regulatory reasons. If I change something here, if I, for example, change this test result to 1.6 and then save, well, first I got an invalid number, so let's go ahead and let's change it to 2.1 and save it. Now the important thing here is that if someone comes and looks at this, they can see that the test result was modified by me at this time and date from 1.8 to 2.1. So if there's a question as to why I did that, we know who did it, when I did it, and I can be someone can come to me and say, hey, I see that you've changed this test result. Why did you do that? The audit trail's working in the background, keeping track of every change that I make. So let's go ahead now and close this sample. Now here, I've got an example of, now I have 55 examples here. Now, this was an entry format that I used called UDF examples, but we have some more in your demo data file. We have other examples of potential ways that a customer might want to create entry screens. So that UDF examples is the one we looked at. Let's look at cell lines now. Let's look at a record using the cell lines screen. We can see a totally different look here, different screens, fields. On this screen, the locations are on a separate tab, and that's another example of perhaps a cell bank of cell lines. Here's one of clinical data, and looks very, the first screen looks a lot like the first screen we had before. But I also have clinical data that maybe I'm importing from another database, or maybe I'll enter this of epidemiological data or on the patient, his gender, birth, country, and so forth. Any information, again, any information that I want to create, I can do this in Freezerworks. So there's a different number of examples that you may want to show your customer of how they can use the program. How are these data files, how are these user-defined fields created? Well, they're done over here in System Admin, User-Defined Fields. And here they are, and we can see these, and we can go in. Let's go into Participant ID 2. This was that unique number that's auto-assigned by Freezerworks when I create a sample. It had that prefix of PRE. And we started, the value was at 321, so it's going forward one at a time as I create new samples. Another example we saw was the collection date. This was a date field. Let's take a look at a calculated field, and that would be process days. Remember that process days was a calculated field. I created process days, and I made it a calculated field, and I set it up so that the storage date minus the collection date equals the process date. And it's just a matter of selecting fields and then selecting the operators. Are we adding, are we subtracting, are we creating parts of it? For example, we had a barcode parse. Let me find that one. Barcode parse. Let's see, parse, barcode parse here. And that was a field that we could scan in, and then when we scanned it in, fields like site code were calculated fields where we parsed the first character to the fourth character of that number, so that we knew that the first 4 characters would be the site code. The next 4 characters maybe the study ID, and so forth. Another field I didn't show, but we'll go back and look at it, are count fields. And let's take a look at the count fields that we have here. I'm going to go to count, and I can see we have a couple of these here. One was called CT serum and CT plasma. And what these were, I selected these as count fields. And what this meant is that I could, as you remember, I created 4 serum tubes. I may have a lot of serum, I may have a lot of plasma, and I might want a field up in the top screen telling me how many I have. So the formatting here, the count field, is aliquot type equals serum. I'm going to count the number of serums I have and put that in this field. Plasma, same idea. The aliquot type equal to plasma, I'm going to count the number of plasmas. So as we go back to that entry screen of that sample we've created, when I created this record here, let's double click and go into it. We can see here we had our 4 plasma, 4 serums. Up here, the number of plasma tubes is being automatically generated here, as well as serum tubes. So if this number, if I have lots and lots of aliquots, this is a quick way of counting certain aliquots based on a user-defined field I select, in this case aliquot type, and adding it up like so. That's an example of a count field. Let's look at that same information from a freezer viewpoint by going to View Inventory, Explore Freezers. We put it in the Freezer D section, Freezer D1A. We'll open it up and we can see box 2. Here are our aliquots that we stored. And I can double click and go into that record from here. And I just did, and the highlighted aliquot is the one I double clicked on. So I have different ways of going and accessing my data. I can also add new aliquots here as well by selecting, like for example, 3 aliquots. Select Add, right click, and select Add New Sample. And here are my 3 aliquots with my entry screen right here. Anytime I want to change the entry screen, I can select an entry format here. So that if I go in now, I've got a different view of entry format. Entry formats are important for different groups, may have different screens and different fields. You can have multiple screens, multiple groups using multiple screens.